dream numbs my mind. Turn on the lights, I'm still blind. Speed up, slow down, wheels keep on spinning. I play the game, I'm now winning. I've been east, I've been west, I've been put to the test. I've been high, I've been low, I don't know where to go. I've been lost, I've been found, I've been spinning around. Here's what's left of me now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio. I'm Amber.
And I'm Alora.
Thank you guys for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
We have a great show for you. I think we're really gonna have a great discussion.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So this week has been very hard for us. We can't really talk about everything that's happened yet because not everybody knows in the family.
Yeah.
But we've had a very a difficult week.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to talk about it right now.
But anyway, we are
Yes.
excited though to end, or I guess begin our new week in a good way and hopefully get
Yeah.
on the right track.
Yeah,
So,
and I was actually in Chicago this week.
Yeah.
I went and visited my husband's uncle who is there. He has Agent Orange, and I'm only telling you this because him and I had a discussion about this, and he actually wants to learn how to podcast on Military Broadcast Radio as well.
It'll be exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. And Uncle Chuck, he has Agent Orange, and he is a survivor of breast cancer. And not many people know that men get breast cancer, and so that's something that he really wants to talk about. And so I'm excited for him to get on here and learn about that and introduce you to him. And so hopefully that will be coming soon.
We also have another special guest. He keeps moving around. So if you see me like smiling at my crotch, there's a reason for it. This is Oates. So he's just hanging out right now. So if he makes any noise, I just felt like I was like, oh, I look kind of weird just looking down every few seconds. But anyway.
Okay. So today we have a very special guest. We have Becca Scoops. She has a YouTube channel. And she discusses true crime. And specifically at the moment, she has been talking about Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I'm sure she's going to delve into other cases.
Yeah.
Because, there is so much information on Gypsy that sometimes it's a little hard to.
It's hard to organize it all. Like, I haven't even looked at any of the stuff that you have. Everything that we read on the show is all that I've looked through. And I know that you got pages upon pages. So.
Yeah, I've gotten, a lot of pages.
Yeah.
And I've still got a lot more to come.
So much.
So actually, let's say hello real quick to everybody. So we've got a lot of people. Hey, I see Tony in there. Tony was our guest from last week.
What's up? How's everything going?
Tony. Oh, yeah.
And
my dad had Agent Orange and ultimately ended up passing away as a result. Would love to meet him and hopefully get him set up on a podcast on podcasting. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, Tony.
Sorry about your loss.
Yes, I am. My Uncle Ray passed away from Agent Orange. So
and we got to put his name on some of the MBR shirts, actually. So.
Yeah, we used some of Uncle Ray's money to buy some equipment for MBR, and so in turn MBR memorialized him on some shirts.
Yeah.
So
I think that he'd be really happy about.
I think he would be too. He was a Marine. He was a Marine. So yes. So hi everybody else. We're gonna actually get into it now because there's so many people to say hello to.
Yeah. And also if you guys are watching us instead of the Grammys right now, because I was watching it up until right now, and I think it's about to like actually start for real. So like, Thank you very much. I feel honored.
Yeah. I haven't watched the Grammys in so long.
I haven't really watched it in a while, but like I love Chapel Roan. And like I just want to see her win some Grammys, and she's supposed to be performing, and I'm gonna miss that. But that's okay. I'm not like upset about it. I'm just saying thank you if you decided to tune into this instead. So but I did see that Kendrick won 3 different awards for Not Like Us, and I just think that Drake is probably crying right now. So anyway.
Okay, so we're
Sorry.
gonna get into our interview of the week.
Interview of the week sponsored by LTD Tactical.
Hello, everybody. So this is Becca Scoops, our interview of the week. Hello, Becca.
Hey, Becca.
Hey guys,
Thank you so much for coming on.
thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I love you guys.
Oh,
Thank
thanks.
you.
I
You're
actually
welcome.
just finished watching all of your videos today at like 10 a.m. I've been binging
What?
it over the past like couple
No.
of weeks.
Don't do
Yeah.
that.
Well, okay. So you do such a great job, but I can only take so much of the Gypsy information at once. So
I
I
can't
have
even do
like,
that. I don't even know how I don't think I could watch it. No.
no. So
No.
I just kind of increments, but no, it's really good, and I really enjoyed it. So I just wanted to say that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've been
Okay.
rewatching some of them,
Okay.
refreshing my memory.
I've just been at
Yeah.
work. I work with flowers. I work in a nursery, so I've just been like playing with
Oh,
little
that's cool.
plants and listening to my headphones. So that's been my week.
Okay. That's a good environment to watch Gypsy, by the way. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Just a little bit of
Yeah.
zen with all of the
Right.
the plants. Yeah.
Okay, Becca, so let's get into it. Can you just kind of tell us who you are, your background being an ICU nurse, and just kind of give us who you are?
Yeah, I'm Becca. I come from a family of registered nurses. My grandmother, actually, I don't know, she graduated from nursing school like in 1925.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, and then she had like sisters that were nurses, World War II. Anyways, it was kind of the family thing.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I got into nursing and I worked at County USC Medical Center in Los Angeles. It's a level 1 trauma center.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and they have a County USC is such a big hospital that they actually have designated emergency rooms. So they actually have a psychiatric emergency room.
Oh.
So I worked, that was my first stint was, you just go wherever they need you. And they said, well, we'll hire you for psychiatric nursing. So I had to learn that first.
Mhm.
And I worked there for several years, became a charge nurse, saw lots of crazy stuff there, lots of crazy stuff.
Bet.
I can only imagine.
And
And
then, yeah.
what years were you working there?
Okay, so not the mid 90s, mid 90s.
Okay, so that would have been peak moment.
That would have been an
Yeah.
interesting time to do that for sure.
Yeah. Then I moved to ICU. I learned cardiothoracic ICU and emergency room, and that was
Oh, okay.
very intense in a different way. Open heart surgeries, yeah. Then trauma care,
Okay. That's awesome. So you've
gunshots, stab wounds, all that kind of stuff.
okay, so you are a jack of all trades basically when it
Kind
comes
of,
to the
yeah.
medical. Yeah.
A little bit,
Okay.
yeah.
So is there
Mhm.
any stories from back then that you can tell us, without,
Yeah, there's one story that really sticks out with me. It's a very sad story. I was driving to work, and this is when I was working in the ICU, the cardiothoracic ICU.
Mhm.
And that day there had been a shooting in Los Angeles where this man had gone nuts. He was mentally ill, I guess, and I'm pretty sure he was mentally ill. He shot a whole family.
Oh, wow.
He left the father alive. He shot the father, but he got the whole family in the house and he shot them all. The father lived. Three of the children died and the mother died.
Mm.
And so I'm listening to the story as I'm driving to work.
Mhm.
And I get to work and I get called in by my charge nurse at the time. And she says, we know your background. We know that you're married to a deputy sheriff, and we need someone that has really big discretion. And I'm like, oh, okay. What do you need me to do? And they proceeded to tell me that this guy was our patient and that he had lost his whole family, but the guy that had shot him was still on the loose, and so he was basically in the hospital as a John Doe
Mm.
just for his safety.
Yeah.
And would I be his nurse for that shift? And I'm like, "Oh, absolutely." But
Yeah.
at the same token, when I came out of the room and I'm thinking, "What do I say?" I asked, "Is he conscious?" "Yeah, he's conscious."
Uh-huh.
And his whole family had just been blown away.
Oh
What do
my
you
God.
say? What do you do? And
Yeah.
at the time, like I had shared on Case's interview, my first husband, about 3 months prior to that, had been shot and killed. So I at least had that perspective, but not my whole family, not my
Oh, wow.
children. You know what I mean? Not anywhere near what this guy had been going through.
Mhm.
And so I went in the room and I was really hoping, I hope he's asleep. I mean, I'm being totally honest. I did not want to
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't know what to say to this guy.
What do you
And
say?
he was awake and I introduced myself and I just sat down and I just started crying with him. I just
Mhm.
took his hand and I explained to him what had happened to me. And I said, it's nowhere near what you're going through, but I'm here for you.
Mm.
And so I took care of him for the whole week. And it was a really life changing for me just to see that kind of level of this guy had so much grace. He had so much dignity. He watched the funeral on TV. It was on local TV. I got a little TV for him at County
Oh.
USC. It's a government, it's not a beautiful facility. There's
Mhm.
most rooms didn't have TVs back then. And so I found a TV. I said, "Do you want to watch the funerals being shown on local TV?" He said, "Yes." And so we got him the TV and yeah, it was just I'll never forget that man. I'll
That's
never forget him.
heartbreaking.
Yeah. So that
I can't
that was
I can't imagine having to watch your family's funeral on TV.
no, me neither. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it was just yeah,
Wow.
that story's always stuck with me and my sons, I have 3 sons, and I remember using that story with them because they had just lost their dad, and I just wanted them to understand that a lot of people go through things, and here's an example of this man who's also going through something that's horrible.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people go through trauma, and I know when my father committed suicide, and
Oh, no.
no one knew what to say to me,
Right.
and yeah, I only had one friend come and actually see me,
I
and
get I
then yeah, and none of my family really reached out to me, because they didn't know how to process it either. So,
Yeah, I think what I learned from that experience, it's not what you say, it's just being present with them, I think.
yeah. Yeah, I think if I had just had people who wanted to be around me, I think it would have helped a lot more going
Right,
through that.
right, right.
I
I
love you.
agree. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so you just mentioned earlier about your husband,
Right,
being killed. Can you just
right.
kinda give us a little bit of information about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, so he was my high school sweetheart. We got married really young. I got pregnant at 18. We got married. My Italian dad said, "You need to get married now."
Yeah.
Uh,
Wow.
so we got married, and he always wanted to be a cop. He became a cop very young, and he was 10 years on the job when he was killed. And he
Uh-huh.
was killed in, if you guys know, like the movie Straight Outta Compton, those
Yeah.
areas.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's exactly where he was killed at. It's a little city next door to Compton called Linwood,
Yeah.
where ironically I was born in Linwood. Very
Oh,
weird. And then he was
Oh,
murdered in Linwood. Yeah.
wow.
So it was a gang member, and there was a trial about a year later, which I had to testify at.
Oh, wow.
And my sons were all testified. That was during so in California we have the death penalty, and he was up for the death penalty because he had killed a law enforcement officer. And so after they found him guilty, then the next part of the trial becomes death penalty or life in prison. And so
Mhm.
part of that, the district attorney asked me, would you be willing to have each of your sons take the stand? Well, they were 11, 5, and 4.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I was like, as a mother, you mothers can understand, very protective. I let my 11-year-old decide on his own, do you want to do this? And he did it on his own. And that was
Oh.
gut-wrenching to watch.
I bet.
Yeah, the part that nobody, it was a sad trial, obviously, but when my son, who was 11, took the stand, the first question they asked him was, "So you play sports, right?" And he's named after his dad. And he said, "Yes." And he says, "So what is it like for you to play sports and you look around and all the other dads are there and
Mm.
you know your dad will never be there?" I just lost it. He
I
just
bet.
lost it. They had to stop the trial. I'd never seen, in fact, my son that was 11, he didn't really cry up until that point, and I wondered, I guess he was trying to stay strong,
Mhm.
but there's something about being on the stand that you feel naked. You're very vulnerable on the stand. It's a weird thing if you've never been on the stand before, and, he just broke down
Mhm.
sobbing, and I was just like, "Okay," and the judge is like, "Okay, we're stopping now." So, yeah, it was traumatic, and they did give the guy the death penalty, and he's on death row now.
Okay. And so
Yeah.
he's been on death row this whole time?
Since 1996.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, he was about 20. You know what? And I felt for his mother and his brothers and sisters were at the trial, obviously, and they all
Mhm.
testified on his behalf to not get the death penalty. And after the trial, his mother came up to me, like, she grabbed my arm and she was, like, apologizing profusely to me, and I said, "Look, no, 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 I'm sorry for you. No
Mhm.
one wins here.
Mm-mm.
No one's coming out a winner here," you
Yeah.
know?
No.
So,
Well,
yeah.
that's very gracious of you because not a lot of
Not everyone is able to process it that
yeah.
way.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, you know what she did? She actually they were Samoan, and, when she came to talk with him and after he was arrested, she, they were talking in Samoan, and he's saying to her, "Don't tell anybody, but I did it." And so
Mm.
the mom actually was the one that went to the district attorney and said, "Look, he's admitted to it." And I had to,
Oh.
like, yeah, I was like, "Wow, really?" She's telling on her
Wow.
son, wow, so I had a
That's
lot of respect for her at that point, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, that's a hard one.
it takes a lot for
Yeah,
a mom to give up their son.
yeah. So that I just to this day, I don't know what happened to that family. I think about them a lot, he hasn't become contrite in prison, sadly. He says that, it was my husband's fault. It's really
Oh.
ridiculous. Yeah, that's sad, but, I always felt for his mother and his sisters. Yeah.
Mhm. No, I can imagine. I mean,
Yeah.
he grew up, I'm sure, with a good mom who loved him, but, the streets,
Be rough.
well,
Yeah,
they
he had
don't.
a definitely a tough childhood, no dad. The dad was gone, I know that, came out in the trial. He got involved with the gang at an early age. This wasn't the first time he had tried to shoot anyone. He'd already been in jail for an attempted shooting, attempted murder
Mm.
already, and they let him
Wow.
go.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's just sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was younger, I was around a lot of gang activity and things like that.
Yeah.
I, I've got at least one cousin now for sure that's still in a gang,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and, my best friend in junior high was in a gang, and
Oh wow.
You're pretty just adjacent to the whole
yeah,
thing.
yeah, I hung out with a lot of different people. So,
Oh wow. Okay.
yeah, so I know, it's that life gets you, and when you have people who they have their own kind of caring,
Yeah.
you know, it's
Yeah.
it, it really is like a family, and
No, absolutely it is. Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, and if you don't have a family, or if you just have a mom, then they end up becoming your family, and uh you end up being like them, and doing what they do, and you fall into the
Right.
wrong life.
Right.
And my
Right.
cousin my cousin is there. I mean, she's a genius, literally. She's beautiful, and
Mm.
she's in a gang, and she has been for years. I mean, she's 30
Yeah.
something years old.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that life is really crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, my husband, he was on gang detail. He wasn't like a regular patrol officer anymore. He was on he was interested in helping gangs.
Mhm.
He
Mhm.
had grown up in Los Angeles, I won't give the exact city, but he had grown up in near East Los Angeles, which is a heavily Hispanic area and a lot of gangs. And so he was Hispanic. He's Hispanic himself. So he felt, drawn to being a part of the gang detail.
Yeah.
Sadly, it got him killed, but yeah, he totally understood the gang mentality and he wanted to work with them. In fact, other gang members after he was killed, they were kind of pissed off. They're like, he was one of the good ones.
Mhm.
He was one of the ones that was trying to help us. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, ironically enough, I have another cousin on that same side that was a gang enforcement officer.
Okay, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
We
So I had both sides of the coins.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Becca, we're going to take a break, and
Okay.
we're going to listen to Joe Muse, "Dead Man Walking," and when we come back, we're going to get into your content.
Awesome.
So we will be right back.
opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome back to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio. That was Dead Man Walking, and I can't remember what his name was. Where'd that go? Oh, Joe Muse. Sorry.
Yeah, I've never heard that one before, but I really liked like the costumes and stuff for the music video. I really like that. That was cool.
Yeah, really. I walked into the studio today, and that was loaded in for me by Tracer Rounds. So thank you, Tracer Rounds, our manager here at MBR. So we are back with Becca Scoops. So thank you everybody for joining us, and we're just going to get into Becca's content now. So Becca, what motivated you to transition from what you were doing as an ICU nurse to making YouTube content?
Yeah, that's a great question. So my mom and my dad became ill, not at the same time, but maybe about 10 years ago. So I'm the nurse, so they're like, "You're taking care of us." No, they didn't say that, but of course, they both live with us, and I was became the main caretaker at that point. They both became pretty ill, one after the other. My dad first, and then my mom. So I still wanted to, do something from home, and I got into writing for a pretty well-known, I'm not going to name it, a website, and a political website.
Okay.
And I did that for 8 years. So that was kind of first how I kind of transitioned out of nursing and more into kind of what we became now. That was kind of the background is writing I had to learn how to source things, the rules, the ethics of journalism. I'm not a journalist. I'm not a reporter. I'm not educated in that way, kind of self-taught, but yeah, I would never say I'm a reporter or I'm a, no, but
yeah, understandable.
Yeah. So for 8 years, I wrote every day. Well, Monday through Friday, I would write 3 articles a day.
Okay.
And so that's
impressive.
Okay.
That's how I learned to research things, and that kind of led to this point.
Okay.
It's a lot of dedication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 is a lot. Yeah.
I'm exhausted. Yeah, I can't.
Yeah. So it's kind of like also doing that. We would get paid, per view. So you write more, hopefully you get more views, but you have to make sure that the content is good too, or just like here, people will click, and if the content's not good, they're going to click out.
Yeah,
so
sure.
So that doesn't. So I kind of learned. Got my feet wet, so to speak, how to research, what's a good source, what's a bad source, what's a primary source, what's a secondary source, all those kind of things. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So what led you into true crime?
Well, so, I'm married to a detective, but, I would say the last 2 or 3 years, I really, this is so funny, really got into watching like Dateline and all those true crime shows.
Yeah.
I loved them. I'm like, this is so good. This is so interesting. This real life kind of stuff just grabbed my attention. I became, almost obsessed with it. This is so interesting. So, of course, and I'm married to, I got remarried, and he's a seasoned detective over 20 years, major police department. So, after the gig with the writing gig, kind of like the website, sadly, the website was basically it was a really big website at one point, but the views started to go down, and the couple that owned the website were like, you know what? At one point they had like 10 people writing for them, and at the end they only had me writing for them.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, just I think because they got their main traffic from Facebook, and Facebook has kind of gone not down, but you know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah.
It was on the decline for a while, but now it's
Yeah,
kinda back up.
absolutely.
They
So, you know,
purchased Instagram and all that other stuff. So
right, right. And so it was a couple that owned the website, and finally they just told me, so what is this, 24? And at the end of 23, they said, you know what, we just can't afford to keep you anymore. We want to keep you, but we can't, you know. And so it was like both at that point, both of my parents had died. And I'm like, well, now what am I going to do? You know
Yeah.
what I Plus, you know, we live kind of on a budget, so I have to pay for my own health insurance at this point, and I kind of needed that extra income, you know. So I was just over after I found out, you know, I wasn't going to be able to work for them anymore. I just started thinking, you know, looking at my husband walking around the house because he's retired, and I'm thinking, wow, there's a source of information right there. You know?
Yeah.
And I had been watching some YouTube videos, you know, the true crime stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I think we could do that. And I brought it to him, and he just looked. I remember that when I told him that, and he just like looked at me for a minute and he goes, what? I'm like, yes, we can do this. But you're going to have to learn how to edit videos. He's like, and make videos. He's like, what? Yes, you're going to have to learn that because, you know, I'm no good with that computer stuff, but you're really good with it. Yes, you know how it goes.
I'm no good at any of it. She actually does everything, and it's funny enough. But yeah.
So you guys understand. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, completely. Yeah. We're just figuring it out as we go. That's pretty much the reason why I haven't made my own content, just because I'm like, I have to try and edit it.
Right. I couldn't do it. There would be no Becca Scoops. It would just be me talking in a black screen, you know. Just
I
be like,
understand.
what is this woman doing? Yeah.
We'd
look
still
at
watch it
that.
though, because you got the information.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
I mean,
he's a pretty good
podcasts that
editor.
don't have any video.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true. No,
work all
that's
the
true.
time.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
also
They
kind of
warned me.
wanted, yeah, I kind of wanted to do something with him too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so it would be fun, I thought. And he's like,
Mhm.
what? Yeah. He's like, what? No. But no, he's good. He's good at the editing. So that's kind of how we got off the bat. And yeah.
Yeah.
The
You know, I was just
Go
going to say,
ahead.
I wish my husband would take an interest in some of this stuff, because I would love to hand him what I have and him go over it and dissect it, because my husband has got a mind that I've never encountered anybody before. This man can do basically anything. And he's had a criminal past. So
Okay.
So yeah,
So yeah, that's a good perspective.
he has
perspective.
Yeah, he has the perspective. He can look at
Just
it
put 'em
from
on blast.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's
No,
part
you're
of
good. You're
that's
good.
part of my husband's testimony, you know. That's just, it is who we are, and you know, God
Nothing too crazy. Don't worry.
no. It is who we are, and God has done great things because of it. But if he would go through some of this information with me and just really dissect it, oh man, I would
He'd
have
get really mad. That's why he doesn't go through it. He just gets like too invested in stuff, and then he gets mad, and he's like, "No, I don't want to deal with that." Which I get. That's why I have to kind of go in breaks too. I got really into true crime and stuff in like the pandemic. I mean, a little bit before then, but I had nothing to do during the pandemic, so that's all I listened to. And yeah, I had to take a bit of a break, and now I kind of just get it in increments. I'll focus on maybe 2 or 3 cases. We've been focusing on Gypsy Rose, and I've also been paying attention to the Madeline Soto case.
Yes.
Yeah.
that
Yes.
one is too heartbreaking for me to watch, because I just want to go there and
Yeah. We all do.
Yeah,
We all
I
do.
know. I know. Yeah.
We're from there. We've lived a lot of different places, but we lived in St. Cloud / Kissimmee and all of that area for
Oh,
quite a
okay.
while. And you know, it seems like the police department's doing a good job with this one.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's
yikes.
good.
yeah.
No, I seen some of that too. That stuff
Yeah.
with kids is difficult. You know, it's difficult to cover. It almost makes
Yeah.
you sick when you start reading about it. So Yeah, I think that's why we started with Gypsy. I didn't know we would be covering her for a whole year. Oh my God. Yeah.
There's just so much
So,
to go over.
well,
Yeah.
yeah.
And she's giving you
It's two things, to be totally honest with you.
Hmm.
Once you get into content creation with YouTube, after you have like just a little success maybe with one video, they want you to stay with that. Like they almost like penalize you if you try, because we did another video that
I
was
know.
with Gypsy. Like I said, I know you guys know that.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, we're not really going to pay you for that one. I'm like, what? You know, I mean,
Wow.
they set a rate, but it was nothing like compared to the Gypsy thing. And then, Sir Morbid kind of filled me in on that. And I'm like, oh, okay. Luckily, there's a lot to cover with Gypsy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
She's-
more coming out every
Yeah, I was
day.
gonna say she's given you no
Right.
shortage of content even since she's gotten out of prison. So
It's a rabbit hole. It
Yeah.
it really is a rabbit hole.
So why
there's
did you pick Gypsy?
Well, originally, so at the end, like I said, at the end of 23 is when my employer told me, look, we're, starting in January, we can't pay, we can't have you on anymore. Kind of got laid off, I guess. And so it was right then, Christmas time, 23, Gypsy's getting out of prison, December 28th, 2023.
Mhm.
And so it was all over the news. And then when when we had decided to do this around the same time we're talking, we're going to do this YouTube channel. And then I see her interview on the first interview with the Vile Files and how she said, I don't identify as a, what? I
Yeah.
was like, what? I
Mhm.
just, my psychiatric nursing skills were like, what? I don't
Mhm.
even think you need to be anything in
No.
in psychiatry to be perked up when somebody isn't taking responsibility for their crime, especially when the crime is matricide,
Yeah. And
Yeah.
she's on
Wow.
parole, and she was supposed to have basically, owned up or taken responsibility just to get out on parole.
Yeah.
Right.
That's kind of where she really lost me. I mean, I was kind of like teetering, but then when she said that, I was like, oh, okay. And then
Me
yeah.
too. At first,
Mhm.
because I watched The Act. I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys have watched that.
Yes,
But I
definitely.
saw that and I was like, okay, I wasn't totally like gun ho, like, great, you
I
killed your
was.
mom. You know what I mean? But I was like, I was buying it. I'm like,
Me
yeah,
too.
wow, that woman was really doing some crazy things to her.
Mhm.
I still couldn't I still was kind of had questions,
Yeah.
but I was like, after everybody was like public consensus when she got out was like, go girl, slay queen.
Yeah.
Uh,
That was me 100%. I mean, they were making like little, gypsy edits and stuff like right before she came out. Ooh, someone's moving.
Right.
Sorry, he's messing with the thing. Anyway, they were making like little gypsy edits and stuff, and I was like reposting that shit on TikTok like all the time. I was like, hell
Right.
yeah, can you go, girl? And now I'm
Right.
like, okay, never mind.
Not me.
Yeah.
Not that I encourage, violence, but I mean,
No.
I'm sure we all went through the ebbs and flows of this case. So,
Mhm.
Yes, definitely.
how are you
Definitely.
doing?
Yeah, I didn't follow it at all because I was really sick. And hey, Toddy.
Toddy.
Yeah, I was really sick, and I just didn't follow it. So I didn't really know anything other than she had murdered her mom, had her boyfriend do it, and Munchausen by proxy, and they met famous people. And
Right.
so when Alora told so when Alora told me that she was in prison with my cousin, I was like, oh dang,
Oh.
and then so
Yeah.
we started praying for her, and
Yeah.
just that's just how we started doing it. And then when Alora came and told me that she was wanting to go see Taylor Swift, I was like, hold on.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the time that the act came out, I was in a relationship and we didn't have much in common, but we did both enjoy that show. So like that was like
Yeah.
kind of a hyperfixation of ours for like a couple months.
Oh,
And,
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
one
I
of the
didn't
only
realize
things- yeah.
that.
So yeah, that's where I was kind of interested in it. And then I watched like all the documentaries and stuff like that. But then, everything happened and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, we were totally bamboozled.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. I heard this YouTube forensic psychologist, Dr. John Matthias. I was, now I'm doing the research at this point,
Yeah.
and he's going over it and he's going, of course, when someone's deceased, you're not really supposed to diagnose people. But
Yeah.
he was going over what he knew of the case.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it was the middle of the night and I'm watching this, and then he says, well, he goes, I really think this is more malingering. And I'm like, he's right, like going over the symptoms, the criteria of it.
Yeah.
And then it really got my interest because I'm like, wow, is this girl lying?
Mm-hmm.
Is this girl is she being not totally honest about everything that happened to her?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I went down the rabbit hole. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
and
it.
It's crazy because you don't want to question an abuse victim.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And that's part of the reason why we got ourselves into some issues a few months ago. We weren't thinking things are gonna end up being like that. It's like you never want to question any stories or anything like that. So
No.
Mhm.
yeah.
No, it's very uncool and
Tough one.
unpopular and not good at this point in our society to question anyone who claims to be abused. You
Yeah.
just take them at their word. Yes, you were abused. Of course you were abused. And then, but the reality is not everybody tells the truth. Most people, I would say, would tell the truth about being abused, right?
Yeah.
But not everybody.
Mhm.
So, yeah. I was scared about that too, making the video. I thought, oh gosh, are we going to get hammered? The first video, I thought, oh my gosh, are we gonna, but I'm like, no, I'm just gonna, this is what I think. And I'm just gonna put it out there, see what happens, So,
Well, you struck a nerve and everybody likes it. So
yeah.
we
Yeah.
actually have to take a break
Okay.
again. So we are going to listen to a Hero by Dallas Alexander. And this is a new one as well. So we will be right back with Becca Scoops.
To a hero, I say, I hope to see you again on some sunny day. And to a hero, and the love you left behind, I'll try my best to pass it on till the end of my time. And to a hero, you're gone, but I have no doubt that you have made it home. And to a hero taken way too soon, over there in that dusty country, an Afghan afternoon. To a hero and the little one you left behind, I hope he grows up with your passion, I'm sure he will with time. And to a hero, a warrior through and through, you were taken way too early, what can we do? Well, we can try to keep your spirits alive, we can try to be nice, we can not take for granted all the beautiful things in our lives. We can be the change we want to see, and we can listen to the wind pass through the trees, we can speak the words we know are true for our heroes. This is what we can do. To all the heroes taken from our lives, at home or in those countries, fighting for what's right. Now we can do this for you and all your kin, and make this world a better place for your kids to grow up in. And we can try to be true, admit when we don't have a clue, and be there with the ones we love until our time is good and through. And we can be the change we want to see, and we can listen to the wind pass through the trees, we can speak the words we know are true for our heroes. This is what we can do. Yeah, we can try to alive, and we can try to be nice. We can not take for granted all the beautiful things in our lives. We can be the change we want to see, and we can listen to the wind pass through the trees. We can speak the words we know are true for our heroes. This is what we can do. To a hero, I say, I hope to see you again on some sunny day. All right, to a hero.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome back, everybody, to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio. That was Dallas Alexander, To a Hero, and we are back with Becca Scoops. So, Becca, we were talking about Gypsy before we went to break. So,
Yep.
I want to kind of, can you take me through? There's so much information in this case.
Yeah, we haven't even gone through half of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And every day something new is coming out, whether it be old information that was supposed to have been out or old information that just never got out, or I don't know what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do you go about researching this case specifically?
God. In the beginning, in the beginning, it was just what was, out there available. Like I said, I, watched Dr. Matthias. I, watched the trials, watched the interrogations. And then we also luckily had a source that had worked on the case. So that's how we started out in the beginning. But like you guys know, every day there's some other new information comes out. And so even stuff like from our first video to now, some of my opinions have kind of changed, not entirely changed, but I have a better understanding now of stuff that I did that first video, which was very basic. It was just a basic video,
Yeah, I remember watching one of yours that had Kate Marie in it.
Right. And we know that's all different now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mostly a lot about Deedee. I think Deedee is so complex. It's
Very.
such, and I'm not for making her a saint, nor am I for making her a total monster. I don't think anyone is either none of us are, you know what I mean? And so that's what makes the case difficult, is that there are those, and sometimes I kind of cringe when, there's a particular person in general, her name starts with F or A. I won't go there, but
Yeah.
her stick is to make Deedee the saint, and that every single thing that happened to Gypsy, every single thing, has some kind of motive that, a health motive. But we know that's not true. We know she could walk.
Yeah.
We know she never had leukemia. We know she was tested for muscular dystrophy and never had that. What does it tell us? Well, yeah, Deedee was pulling a con. Okay, that is the truth. No one can change my mind on that. Does that mean, though, that Gypsy should have murdered her? Well, absolutely not. Right? I mean, you can't make that leap. And I was even doing research today on kids that were horribly, severely abused, and they don't murder their parents. So, that the whole case is very intriguing in that we only have Gypsy's side of it, and it's difficult we have to stick to facts, and then I also give my opinion. That's kind of what my videos are. I bring out facts, and then I say, here's what I think about that. What do you think? I leave it to you. What do you think?
Mhm.
I never want anyone to think that my video is making you think anything. Hopefully it's making you question it more. What do you think about this person? What do you think about Deedee? What do you think about Gypsy? You
Mhm.
know, yeah.
Yeah, when I first started paying attention to all of this, I thought Deedee was just a horrible human being.
Hmm.
And mostly it was just because of all the information that was out there, and I hadn't really gotten on YouTube at that point and really looked at it. And so I kind of, had agreed. I was like, well, if she was, really abusing her, then maybe she, was justified. But now
Mhm.
that I look at it, Deedee was asleep when it
Yeah.
happened. So that right there negates that just takes away from, uh, self-defense or anything like that. And you can't say that she couldn't run away because she'd done it before. Um,
Right.
so frustrating when I really start looking at the real facts of the case.
It frustrates me because allegedly, in my opinion only, just from looking at text and some of the actual facts that the general media doesn't always like to look at, it really seems like she may have had some sort of a sadistic sexual fantasy or pleasure
Mhm.
that
Yes.
contributed to some of her actions. And that to me is what gets me, along with the fact that, she brought Nicholas into it. And I probably feel a little bit differently on the Justice for Nick thing than a lot of people do. I think that he's probably where he needs to be, but I think the fact that he was manipulated into it was disgusting. And there should be some laws put into place for sure to keep things like this from happening again, or at least holding people equally accountable.
Mhm.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
I agree with with her sexual perversion.
hmm
I was shocked, not shocked, but when I found out that Nick couldn't keep himself, what, during the act. Basically in the bathroom and after, when she says she was allegedly raped, okay, by
Mhm.
him, she also says that he didn't have an erection.
Mhm.
So which is it? What's going
Mhm.
on here? What do you mean what? So that tells me then whose fantasy was this? Because if
Yeah,
this was his fantasy, you would think he would be aroused.
exactly, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can't, just to play devil's advocate and devil's advocate only. I mean, there can be situations in which things like that can
That is
happen, and you
true.
can
Sure,
be
sure,
assaulted
Mhm.
in
sure.
ways, and
Oh
some
no,
people
I,
just
I
like
agree with
the
that.
version.
Yeah.
But I too totally agree that yeah, like that's not what it seems like that was in my personal. I'm just trying to make sure
Yes.
I'm careful with it, but yeah.
Yeah, so that part of it I didn't know in the beginning. That was like newer information because her book comes out and then she's telling this, about him and I'm thinking, "Well, wait a minute here." You know. And we know also that she was into this dress up play before she knew him. So, um yeah, and that's fine. Everyone can have their own kink, you know what I mean? But to say that
Mhm.
this was all him and it was all his fantasies, and I don't know. I got a question mark there. I question it, you know. And I agree
Yeah,
about the
to
part.
me
Go ahead.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say in the part about Nick, about what is justice for Nick also is, to me, that's a very difficult question. I do believe that he didn't have a fair trial. I don't think he's gonna get another trial, but I'm not an autism expert, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I know
Yeah.
what the autism expert has said about Nick, about he's level 2 and that he's highly suggestible and all of those things. And I believe that expert, he's an expert. So I'm going to take his word for it. But I don't know also what that means. Forensically, can he be out in public? Can he, you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not the expert in that. So
Well, going on that vein, I mean, honestly, if you look at all of the communication that we have been able to see between Nicholas and Gypsy, Gypsy to me is a very scary individual.
Mhm.
In her mind wise.
Mhm.
I'm definitely not scared of her, but what she scares me in the fact that I know that evil exists. And the more I learn about all of this trial, this case, all of the different evidence, the more I see that she is just really evil.
Mhm.
And I say that
Allegedly.
Alleg-
Sorry.
I say that because when you look at their interaction in the text messages that Starlight has gone over several times,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
to me, it feels like she was grooming. She was on the path of wanting to be a serial killer and was grooming an unwitting accomplice.
Mhm. Yeah, I see that.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
I
No,
totally see
that's
it.
just
Yeah.
what I feel. That's
Yeah.
what I
No,
feel.
sorry. I just keep saying that habitually. Like, I even say that in my real life when I'm having conversations with friends. I just say allegedly, 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 and they're like, "Girl, like, there's no one you have to defend yourself against here."
Well,
Sorry.
I found it's hard to find any real research on parricide. Parricide is what people that kill parents,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay? But there's one professor I found just in the last 2 days, Kathleen Heidi, and she says this, that there are 3 types of parricide offenders. 1, the severely abused, 2, the dangerously antisocial, and 3, the severely mentally ill.
Mhm.
And when I look at that, and I've read her study today, I was reading her study, and I have to say that Gypsy is in my opinion, okay, my opinion, the dangerously antisocial.
Mhm.
She is not, I don't see her as being severely abused. Severely abused. Severely is the key word there.
Yeah.
And I don't see her as being severely mentally ill. And when we talk about mental illness, I'm talking about something like schizophrenia or those types of mental illnesses. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about the personality disorders.
Mhm.
So, because she's got a personality, I believe she has a personality disorder. So I think when I break it down into that, that's what I think how you have to break it down, because this case is so huge that sometimes you have to get back down to like little details, break it down. And to me, I agree that's what makes her scary,
Mhm.
is that you don't change being antisocial, the dangerously antisocial. Those are the people that are they're serial kill. Those are serial killers, those are rapists, those are those kind of people. So, yeah.
Yeah. And she talked about doing that with Nick. So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and she was
Mhm.
pushing that more of that narrative than he was. He wasn't,
Yeah.
he was more, I feel like Nick just found somebody that he thought loved him and played along with the game. And then it got real. And I think she just continually manipulated him and love bombed him and just made him feel like he was special to her. And so that in turn made him feel like he was, gonna help her and be her hero and everything like that. So
Right. Right. And of course, this wasn't like, when they talk about the severely abused, and in those cases, usually it's not a planned thing. It's usually like they're being abused, they grab a gun. They're being abused, they grab a knife. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's more of that crime of passion thing, not a planned,
Mhm.
one like she did, which was over several years,
Mhm.
So
And
that's all. Yeah.
actually, while we're getting into it, I have your video here that I kind of wanted to play a little bit of it and
Okay.
let's just talk about it.
Okay.
So let's see.
Sorry, I hate awkward silences.
Okay,
No dead air. That's what Joel always used to say.
I know. I think on TikTok it actually counts if it's dead air.
Oh, I have no
Cops
clue.
spill hot tea about Gypsy Rose Blanchard, part 4,
Or
Nick.
Nick. Yeah.
This is the one that I really, I remember watching this. I was actually in Springfield when I was watching this video. And I just remember it making a real impact on me.
Okay.
And there's a lot in this video, but I'm just going to start here. So.
Okay. Did not initiate this encounter. However, he did respond to Gypsy's instructions when she suggested they take the relationship to Facebook. Remember, this initial contact is in 2012, and Deedee's murder isn't until June 2015. According to Dr. Wasserman, Gypsy tapped into Nick's vulnerabilities, almost like a predator seeking its prey. As we grow up, most of us learn to interact socially from our experiences with the outside world. From our peers and family, we learn social cues. However, Wasserman claimed autistic people receive their information about the social requirements of relationships from the structure.
Okay, so
Oh gosh. Do you know how
yeah,
hard it is to hear your voice, and you might want to
I
speed up?
know. Believe me, I know.
Okay, you know that, right? Yeah, go
Yes.
ahead.
Yeah, so I was just curious about oh dang, I just lost my train of
No, it's
thought.
okay about the autism. About the autism.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're not an expert on autism, okay?
Right.
So I'm not trying to go there with it. But I would just like to know from your video, I saw that he was he had 100% disability for autism.
Right.
And from what I understand from your video, he got it as an adult.
Right.
Do you know if he got it as an adult or as a child?
What do you mean, the diagnosis
The
or?
diagnosis. Okay, so when he
Yeah.
got disability, was he getting disability as a child or did he start getting disability as an adult?
As far as when he got the disability, I know that he was diagnosed as a child. Okay. That he was in special ed classes in high school. That he graduated from high school, his mother said, but he was in special classes.
Mhm.
And she said that that doctors had told her he would never progress past like mentally like a 15-year-old around
Mhm.
that he was stuck in his teenage years and he would never progress to be a mature adult mentally.
Yeah,
And
that's what I
that's what she
remember her
said.
saying.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that's what she said. She also said, and I tend to believe her, that he was never violent. He was
Mhm.
they never had any issues with him. Outburst. In fact, you could tell she was being very candid. It wasn't a canned response. She was like, "Oh no, no, Nick, no," So to me, she was being honest about that, and that tells me something. There was no history of violence there. He did have history of the one encounter with the police at McDonald's. I don't know if you know about that.
I do,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, so he had that one issue. I
Which
guess he was
he was dating Gypsy at the time, correct?
right, and he was
Mhm.
watching Corn, and he had a knife on him, a pocket knife. That's what
Mhm.
he was charged. He wasn't charged. He wasn't doing. Uh, the detractors like to say, "Oh, he was doing other things." I'm not going to say it here, but
Yeah.
he was not. He was not caught doing anything like that. It was just that he had been sitting there for hours and hours updating his computer, and here's a guy with level 2 autism who doesn't get social cues, meaning he doesn't know it's not cool to sit at McDonald's for 8 hours. He
Yeah.
doesn't get that. He's like, "What's the
Mhm.
problem?" And people are
Mhm.
looking at him that work, they're like, "What the hell?" You know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
actually, you touching on, the social or not the social cues, but the lack of violence.
mhm,
So, we do know that Gypsy has a history from before Nick
right,
and during Nick
right,
and after Nick of having
right,
freakouts.
right,
And I know from the women in the prison, and I talked to 3 women in Chillicothe, so it's not just my cousin. I talked to 2 other women as well. And I was told that they would see her having freakouts on a regular basis, going into a shower and cutting her hair with toenail clippers or fingernail clippers or whatever she could get. And then Nick talks about her
I don't
having
mean
the
to. I don't mean to interrupt you. It's so weird that you bring up the hair, because a lot of people were. I've heard people saying, different chats and lives that, oh, I think it's Starlight. Oh, she pulls her hair out. Nice. Go whatever. No, I was reading that is something that I can't remember the name of it. There's an actual name for it. It starts with a T. For people like
trichotillomania.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And that
I used to
this
pull out my hair as a kid, so.
this professor Kathleen Heidi, who's an expert on parasite, brought up that condition, and I was freaking the hell out when I read that today, because I'm like, what? Saying it's a sign of poor impulse control. And a lot of these in her study, she found a lot of these people that perpetrated this crime of parricide had certain conditions like that one. Isn't that weird?
Really?
Yes.
That is weird.
When I said that I used to pull out my hair as a kid, I didn't mean that I was dangerous.
Oh no, that's scary. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's a real.
No, I promise. I said that. I was like, really? No.
No, it's one symptom of like poor impulse control, I guess, is what she's trying to say.
Yeah. No, that is wild. I would like to know more. I'm gonna have to look up those symptoms and see what else I see.
Yeah, the other one is kleptomania, with stealing things,
That
which we know she does.
I truly believe her and Deedee had that.
I do too.
I mean,
yeah.
Kleptomania.
Why are they stealing stuff that small stuff that came out to like $32 at Hobby Lobby? Why are you stealing $32 worth of knickknacks?
Yeah, it's just the impulse, and
I guess.
And I think that this is my opinion. I think that if Gypsy does get in trouble again, I think it will be for stealing.
Oh, I tend to. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's
That's
a real
what I've
thing.
always thought.
Yeah, it's a thing. So I don't, she hasn't gotten the mental health help. So yeah, I would say these impulse control issues probably are still something she has. The freakouts, I'm sure she still has them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd
be interested to know if she ever goes to anybody's house and anything ends up missing out of their bathroom or whatever.
Allegedly.
So yeah. Allegedly, in your own opinion.
Yeah, I fear of speculation. That's all.
I'm just saying, as a
I feel
kleptomaniacs, it doesn't matter what it is or where they're at. If they get the impulse to take something, they're going to take it. And it doesn't matter who it is.
I know some people like that for sure.
So I would just be curious to know if anybody has actually noticed anything missing when she has gone to their home or anything like that.
Yeah.
Even if it's just something little.
Yeah, because I don't think it's about. I don't think it's about expensive stuff. I think it's just, as I see. Oh, there's the word for pulling your hair out. I don't know how you pronounce it. Trichotillomania.
Yeah, I knew it was something like that. I actually said phobia. I said trichotillomania. Anyway, I can't.
You're
At least you knew what it was.
Yeah,
I did know what it was.
Okay, so we got into. There's a whole lot I want to talk about, and I just don't know.
Yeah.
Laura, do you have anything while I'm thinking?
I mean, I haven't been paying that much attention to the case other than listening to your videos and stuff for the past couple weeks of it. But was there anything that you might have found that you wanted to share with her at all, or are you still going through it and you don't really feel comfortable sharing?
Oh yeah, I'm still going through everything. And I will. I got a lot.
I know.
Been doing a lot. It's been a long week.
And I have a lot more coming. So I've actually started a Google Drive to what I'm uploading everything to the Google Drive, and then I'm just going to start emailing it out. That's what I'm
Okay.
going to do.
Well,
Be-
yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you because it's
Hey,
very helpful,
Toddy,
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
sorry, I wasn't trying to do that. I just saw Toddy said that and I'm a little offended. Excuse me. I am no danger, I promise. Sorry, I wasn't trying to interrupt. I just saw that and just had to make sure that she knew her comment was seen.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Toddy's in bed.
I posed the threat.
So what do you think was really going on inside that house? Because I truly believe, my opinion, I truly believe that Gypsy was not in a wheelchair when she was in that home. There wasn't it's not a big house for one
It
thing.
was cluttered.
It was cluttered.
No wheelchair marks on the floor.
Yeah. And then also they had the coverings over the windows.
Mhm.
And I don't think it was just to hide Deedee from abusing Gypsy. I don't think I don't think that was actually happening
Well,
like
if
that.
you can't walk and you're walking around, it would be pretty weird
Well,
for
yeah,
someone to
and,
accidentally
and,
see it. Yeah.
exactly. And doctors said that her muscle tone was not of someone that had not been walking. That they test for that, and they're like, no, that was one of the things that kind of freaked out. The one doctor was like, well, she had really good, adequate muscle tone in her legs
Mhm.
that they knew she was just not sitting there. One thing about people that are in the hospital for long periods of time, like I had to do a stint in the VA during when I was in nursing school, and we'd have to go in there and every day do this. It's called range of motion on their limbs, on their
Mhm.
legs, on their arms, and even then there's hardly any muscle tone, but it deteriorates pretty quickly if you're not using your muscles. And so
Mhm.
obviously she was walking around a lot, that she
Mhm.
was walking around in that I don't know why she persist in some of her lies, but that's what pathological liars do also is they lie for no reason, even stupid lies, and she does
Mhm.
stupid lies. So, yeah.
Yeah, I remember one of I don't remember what documentary or what it was on, but I remember hearing her say that her mom made her sleep on the porch.
Yeah, we drove past one time and I just can't see
There's
Would
no
a
way
neighbor
that
way.
see? What did you guys think?
Yeah,
Would neighbors see
it,
that?
it's
Yes.
close enough. It's country kind of, but it is on a road
Yeah.
in a neighborhood. But it's too close proximity for no one to notice that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the porch was wide open. I mean, it had slats, but you could see,
Yeah,
so there was
Right.
no way that she could
and
have slept on a
especially
porch.
being that people were already concerned about her, already paying attention to her. Like if they were to see a disabled girl laying on the
On your
porch,
porch,
They would
sleeping.
call or find out. Yeah, they would
yeah,
these are things that Deedee would not want to have happen because it would be bringing people to the house, which she didn't want, So, the
all
other
about
thing was her
appearances.
saying she was left in the
Mhm.
shed overnight. Well, I'm just gonna start screaming and people are gonna hear me right?
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't she scream? Of course, Gypsy's, what she says is, "Well, my mom had me so brainwashed and I was so beaten down." Well, I don't know. I think you would start screaming, "Let me out of here, let me out of here," and Deedee wouldn't be able to leave her in the shed. A lot
Well,
of
and
those
she also
stories are suspect, yeah.
yeah, and she also says that the shed had a dirt floor, but none of the sheds had a dirt floor. The only
Right,
thing that had a dirt floor was the greenhouse.
right.
So, I mean, it's just the little things. It's like she just lies to lie. I think she's just a compulsive liar.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's just kind of rolled into the kleptomania and all that stuff, in my opinion. But, because if you're living like that, you're just lying all the time, no matter what,
Right,
just
right.
because. So,
Yep.
what do you think? No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Gypsy in her book and in her Kel Lowry or something like that. I can't remember that woman's name. Barely Famous podcast. She said that she
Yes.
drank bottles and wore diapers. I have gone through all of the crime scene photos. There are no bottles, there are no sippy cups, and there's only one thing of diapers bomb on it.
Okay. I'll say this, that yeah, I agree with you. There was no evidence of the bottles or nipples or anything like that. I do know that as far as the diapers go, that Deedee said in a text to Christy, do you remember when Gypsy sent Rod inappropriate pictures and was sent something over to the Christy, Rod, and Mia that was
Yeah.
inappropriate. And so
Mhm.
Deedee was trying to lie for Gypsy, cover it up for Gypsy, and say, "Oh, that wasn't Gypsy. That was this girl Aaliyah." And the only people that come to the house, and she mentioned the diaper delivery, and I was like, that was like weird to me, like that Deedee actually mentioned that in a text,
Mhm.
and that's what piqued my interest. And this was before the book came out. This is like 4 or 5 months ago, where I did a video, and that was in the video. These text messages from
Mhm.
Deedee, and I'm thinking, why the hell do they have a diaper delivery service? So maybe there's some truth to the diapers, but I don't know if it was ongoing, or I don't know if Deedee just said that for show, like, I want you to think that Gypsy's in diapers because she's disabled,
Mhm.
or what. I don't know, but yeah, Deedee did say that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
there's no evidence. There's like no diapers in the trash
Right.
cans.
Right. I agree with
Just to
that.
play
Yeah.
devil's advocate, maybe it's something she used sometimes, like when she was out in public, or like, if she went on certain trips or something like that, or maybe sometimes it just was more convenient. I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't.
I'm not sure that, like
At
I was
least my
talking
take
about
is this.
how Deedee wasn't all saint or all sinner. I do think that in my research, and this, I have no one thing I can point to, but I think, like when she said Gypsy wants to be a nun, these kind of themes, that apparently Deedee thought that, this is what Gypsy says, that her mom wouldn't let her use tampons or even Kotex, that she had to use the diapers for her period, that Deedee said
Mhm.
that she believed that she was too small down there to take a tampon. I don't know, I was Deedee strange in some ways, like about Gypsy with that? I don't know, but still, I don't believe that Gypsy was wearing diapers at the time of that. I agree. There was none in the trash. This wasn't an everyday thing. I don't know if
Mhm.
Deedee was not allowing her to use tampons or not. You still don't, kill somebody over that. So was Deedee weird?
Yeah,
Maybe
no.
she was weird. I don't know about that. I try to stay I try to play devil's advocate also, Alora, because, you know,
I do that a
I
lot. I
do.
annoy
I
people.
do. Because I don't ever want people to think
Mhm.
that I am just so anti-Gypsy that I
Yeah.
don't consider all of these things when I make my video, because I do. And then I have my husband, who's Mr. Analytical Mind, who will rein me back on some of this crazy stuff and say, "Oh, no, 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 we can't put that in the video." You know what I mean? Um,
Oh, yeah.
so yeah. So we try to stay as unbiased as we can, but yeah. And I try to consider all of these things. Did she have weirdness when it came to some stuff with Gypsy? Maybe
Mhm.
she did. Maybe that was her
Mhm.
quirk. Maybe she was raised a certain way by her mother. And, the sexual promiscuity and all that was taken at a new level, like you're going to be a nun and stuff like that. I don't know.
Mhm.
Still, all of our parents are not perfect, and they all had
Oh, yeah.
quirks, you know,
Mhm.
and yet we love them and we don't murder them, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
uh, so that's what I always come back to when I try to play devil's advocate myself in my own brain, having these conversations.
Mhm.
I get
Yeah.
it.
What were you gonna say?
No, I mean, I was just thinking most of us have experienced something that constitutes as abuse in some form or fashion. And,
Yes.
you know, I don't know. I don't really have much else to say on that. But I see that Toddy had a question for you. I put it up on the
Okay.
screen, but it says, she said, I have a question that I like to ask. I'm serious. I want to know how Becca is coping and dealing with the criticisms that we get.
Oh,
She's a newer
God.
content creator, and I'm sure she's gotten some.
Yeah, really. You know, when you guys, I don't know what happened to you this week. For me, this week was really hard. There's a lot of, not a lot of criticism. I knew that going in from working as writing articles, you know, for 8 years, you know, we were on social media and, you know, people would, especially in a political type thing, there's a lot of, you know,
But
heated discussions that happen. At first, I would get really upset, like take it to heart, like take it personally, but these people don't know me personally. You know what I mean?
mhm,
So I learned, at least I had that. For Toddy, it's new, I think, but at least I had 8 years of being criticized and understanding social media and how it works, and that there's trolls and there's this and that. Still, I'm a human being and it does get to me.
mhm,
Um, some things, because we're a faceless channel,
Mhm.
I just had to put on TikTok that just showed, you know, one of my old nursing license and a thing my husband got, you know, verifying that he's a detective. I felt that our followers were owed that because we are faceless and that you don't know our last name.
mhm,
So I made the decision to do that, knowing at that point there was going to be more. I'm inviting more trolls to come in and
Mhm.
speculate. And it had happened. It happened. I was sent stuff from Reddit where people are calling me a quack and they're calling me, I'm outdated in my nursing and all of these things. And yeah, you know, it kind of hurts, but at the same time, you don't know me personally. So
Yeah.
how can I take it personal, I guess.
mhm.
Yeah. Understandable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry because I know Tottie's going through that right now.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I just want her to know that we all love her and we all support her. She's a
Yes.
good person, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people think that like you have to agree with everyone on everything in order for us to
No.
just respect each other and get along. I mean, I'd say there's probably nobody in the community or very few people that I like completely agree on everything with. Um,
Exactly.
you know, I mean,
I love that
I
comment.
personally do get a little I do understand the concern from some people. Sometimes a lot of us will talk a lot about like diagnosis and stuff, and I am a little wary of trying to diagnose people that we don't know at the end of the day, but
Yes.
you do see patterns and you do have a history working with these people. So it's somewhat understandable. I get both sides, but you know, you do have the experience in some form or fashion to back it up and you're not just pulling it out of your ass. So I don't
Right,
know.
I'm giving my professional
But I get it.
opinion. You
Yeah.
know, where I worked at was a teaching hospital, and so I was the
Mhm,
charge nurse on the psychiatric ward, and so I would sit in with the residents and the medical students and their process that they went through for
mhm,
many years, thousands of cases of how they came up with certain diagnoses. It's
mhm.
just an opinion. It's my
Yeah.
professional opinion, and take it with a grain of salt. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Uh
Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't speak on something that I had no background in, you know, like even when I was talking about Gypsy's labor and delivery stuff, I, you know, made it very clear. Look, I was never a labor and delivery nurse. Here's kind of what
Yeah.
I know from my overall nursing background, but it wasn't my forte. It wasn't my specialty like psychiatric nursing was. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, but can I be wrong? Well, hell yeah, I can be wrong. And also, I love what you said about not having different opinions. Yes,
Mhm.
let's not all be the echo chamber, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Discuss
Right.
these. Let's say, you know what? I appreciate your opinion, but I don't agree with your opinion. I am so like loving that if people do that
Yeah.
with me. You know,
Mhm.
it's intellectually stimulating. Don't just say what I say as truth. What do
Yeah.
you I wanna know what you think. You know, that's what's
Mhm.
interesting
Yeah.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah. We can't progress or get anywhere if we're all just agreeing with each other all the time. I mean, if we would have just agreed with everything that we had been fed and not looked into stuff, then none of us would be sitting here right now, you know? It's
Yes.
complicated and again, like you never want to question somebody's abusive experiences and it's complicated, and I
Right.
still struggle with it, even though I largely
I do
believe that we
too.
have fed a lie. You know, I sometimes I feel icky. I'm like, what if
Me
the
too.
small chance that some of it is more true? And like, I get that there's nuance with, abuse. Like I said, we've all been abused in some way, or most of us.
Right.
Um, it's such a loose term,
Term.
and I'm not saying that it's ever justified to do what she did, but it's like, we all have a breaking point, and it's like,
Yes.
who are we to
Yes.
question the breaking point? And yeah,
I still
I've been struggling
question the
with it.
whole I
Yeah.
still question the whole thing. I will, like, even
Mhm.
today, because I've made so much content on it, I will still, like, I'm hard on myself, to myself, my own, like, conversation,
Mhm.
because um yeah, I can have, these are the opinions that I've come to, but still I acknowledge that the way she was raised was not great. This wasn't a great.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
she took her to
Yes.
Disney World and she gave her great trips and all of these things. But you know what? I think we can all agree that the con, that she was pulling a con. And yes, Gypsy did also have this chromosomal issue, but at the same token, she should have been in school. She should have been allowed to, y- you know, she shouldn't have been just in a wheelchair. And that's, you have to be in the wheelchair when we go outside.
Mhm.
And I'm going to shave your head. Um,
Mhm.
we can all agree that that's not great. That's but then I always come back to the you don't kill somebody over that. You just move, you leave. You
Yeah.
say, I love you, mom, but you know what? I'm out of here now. It was fun, but I'm not doing this anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was the choice.
hmm
So, as a psych nurse, thing or a couple of things in this case that has surprised you, piqued your interest to a point where you're like, "Wow, I've never heard of that." Is there something that you've come across that has just kind of blown your mind?
In this case with Gypsy,
Yeah, in this
yeah.
case.
Uh that sh- that that they were able to, that Gypsy has been able to get away, what I think get away, that the mainstream media hasn't caught on yet to question this, is something that is blowing my mind
Mhm.
at this point, that there's not one journalist mainstream
Mhm.
that has looked into her, because you know what I think it is initially why there's such an anti-Gypsy movement. I think she comes off really bad on social media. I think she's not likable. And she's just not a
She's
likable
not.
person, regardless of the crime and all that. I
Mhm.
just think she comes off as arrogant
Mhm.
and not relatable. Everything's perfect in her life. I had a baby in 15 minutes, stuff like this that other women are going, what? Come on, lady. Come
Right?
on, just stop it.
She's
Just
not
stop it.
even good at
All
like,
right. So
yeah,
to
she's
me,
not
she's
even like
not
good at content
likable.
creation either.
Yeah. And I would
Mhm.
think there would be one journalist that would take that, and I don't like her. Let me look into her. But I think they're so
Yeah.
scared, like you guys have been pointing out with
Mhm.
the abuse thing, that we don't
Mhm.
we don't question it. So it would take a journalist that is working, I don't know, probably independently, to delve into this. But it would be a great. I think if more people
Right.
knew about it, it would be a Netflix series. I do.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
Like
Me
here's
too,
the
but
real
how do we
story.
get them
Or
to
I don't know. I don't know how do we get them to pay attention. I guess keep talking about it, but yeah, I hope to move on from this, in the near future. I'll probably always make something if there's a new thing, but yeah, there's other
Mhm.
cases that pique my interest,
Branch
definitely.
out. Yeah.
So, what kind of cases are you looking at?
I've been looking at, it's this woman named Karen Reed. I don't know if you guys know who she is.
Yeah. Mhm.
She's a woman in Boston who she's going to be tried. She was tried once. It was a hung jury. she is accused of running over her boyfriend, who was a cop in Boston during
Mhm.
a snowstorm, that she backed into him. Accidentally
Mhm.
or not, it's the question. It's a very interesting case. Here's why it
Mhm.
kind of
It
reminds me
really
of the
is.
yeah, it reminds me of and so once she was tried during the summer and I was glued to it. I was watching that trial the whole time because I'm really into this case. I'm scared of the case because there's this whole community. Like, you know how there's the gypsy community, like this community that we're in, and then there's the pro gypsy
Mhm.
people and the anti gypsy people. Well, with Karen
Mhm.
Reed, there's this people that are pro Karen Reed, they have gone to extremes.
Oh,
Extremes.
really?
They have so there's witnesses in this case, okay, just a brief
Mhm.
overview. There's witnesses in this case. They have not only doxed these people, they have went on rolling rallies to out front of their houses. They have showed up at their kids' soccer games. They're
Oh,
totally
wow.
no, it's crazy. It's crazy. This whole case is crazy and it's gonna be retried in April. I'm really looking forward to it. I am of the
Wow.
mind of not the people that are harassing. So I'm of the mind that I've looked at all the stuff in this Karen Reed case, and I'm pretty sure that she's responsible for his death. Was it accidental or
Mhm.
not? I don't know. Okay, she drank 9 heavy whiskeys and then she drove.
Mhm.
And then he
Oh,
got out of
wow.
the
That's all.
got out of the car during a snowstorm and she backed into him allegedly. Okay.
Mhm.
Then her defense has been that she's being framed, that all of the police officers involved and all the people that live at this house where his body was found, they're all in cahoots and they killed him. It's crazy. It's
Mhm.
crazy. No, you ran him over. But if you say that, there's a whole community out there, probably I'm going to get hate mail tonight, that are like, no, you don't know the case. You don't know what really happened. All these
Uh-huh.
people are involved. It's crazy. It's a crazy case. So I'm thinking about doing a
Mhm.
video
Wow.
on it. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be something I'd be interested in watching because I've
Yeah.
never heard of it before. And
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Yeah.
I mean, maybe in passing, but
Yeah, I've only heard bits and pieces of it. I watched somebody's content on it, and when you mentioned that case, I was like, "Oh, that's a police case."
yeah,
That's most of the witnesses are police or police
Yes.
adjacent.
yeah,
Yes.
I've been
And because
stepped away.
I can feel for the family and I feel for his mother who's been maligned, the mother of the officer that was killed. They've maligned the whole It's like, why do you go after I don't know. It just I guess it gets me
Oh.
angry, kind of like Gypsy case got me angry. So, yeah.
Yeah. I just get angry at the fact that my cousin is sitting in prison for 25 years on 5 ounces of methamphetamine.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
That's
mean,
so
come on.
crazy. That's so crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only reason I started even paying attention to her. Had my cousin not been in prison, I probably wouldn't have even paid attention at all.
yeah,
So, yeah, that's the only reason I pay attention to Gypsy, because
yeah,
normally I pay attention to cases that, I feel like I can empathize with. And I guess
Yes.
for a long time I didn't empathize with Nick or with Deedee, really,
Yeah.
because there was so much misinformation out there.
Right.
And now I definitely empathize with Nick and Deedee, but it took me a long time to get there. This whole year of information and looking at FOIA requests that are coming out that I'm getting. And so now I finally have empathy for Deedee and for Nicholas, but for a long time I didn't.
Yeah, no, I understand. And I also understand, even though I come from a law enforcement family, that there are cases of like this one, people being locked up for like your cousin, and there's a lot of miscarriages of justice. And I totally understand that, acknowledge it. And, even in the case with my husband, when the guy was put up for death, people have asked me, well, what do you think of that? And it's like, I don't, I think that if he's put to death, it's not going to bring, my first husband back. So
Yeah.
I'm not for all of that kind of, justice, I guess,
Mhm.
and I acknowledge that there's a lot of problems with our justice system, like how did Gypsy get out for one thing, and why
Mhm.
is Nick still in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
When she can't even admit that she's a murderer.
I know. And yet there's your cousin and there's others like that are, totally not violent offenders that are there for years and years and years. And you're like, what is going on? How did this happen?
Mhm.
And sadly, in this country, if you don't have a lot of money for an attorney, you're stuck, right? Or if you don't have a great story
Yeah,
like
or
Gypsy has.
yeah, or if you're of a different race. My cousin is Hispanic, and so they it was a small town here in Missouri, and
Right.
they wanted to throw the whole narrative on her, and that's just not the truth. And so yeah, it's just awful. The justice system reformed, and
Yes. I agree.
because of my cousin's incarceration now, that's something that I care about now.
Something you
Right.
noticed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
And see, I like I said, I have complicated things on complicated feelings on the justice for Nick thing. But something people unfortunately are gonna have to remember though, this is the state that just a couple months ago put Marcellus Williams to death.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know how much the audience knows about this case, but basically it was a black man that got convicted of killing a white woman in the 90s, and there's no DNA evidence to match him to the crime. There's been a lot of things to suggest that he might not have done it, and in my personal opinion, I have complicated feelings about the death penalty, but I think if there's reasonable doubt, it should just be taken away.
Mhm.
And
Sure.
we stood out in front of the Capitol building and we protested, and
Good.
people laughed. So that's
Oh.
where we're at in Missouri here. And
Mhm.
as much as I do think that Nick deserves a fair trial
Yeah.
and deserves a public defender that actually is trying, I totally encourage anyone who believes in something to fight for it. I'm not telling you to give up on it, because it's
Mhm.
never too late to try for something.
Mhm.
But I do just want to be realistic with this. That's the kind of government that we're dealing with here in Missouri.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
So
yeah. That's good to remember. And I think with Nick, there's a lot of issues that certain people get behind, like the autism issue. Like,
Mhm.
was it fair that he was interrogated without someone there? There's a lot of issues with that needs to be exposed. I think
Mhm.
that's why people get so passionate about it. I understand that.
well, this is another thought that I have. Do you know who Daniel Larson is? I'm like going on a weird tangent if I
Okay,
do.
so is he like an internet like strange person? Am
Yeah,
I
yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Yes. The
Okay.
definition is a lolcow. It's what I've been calling
Okay,
people for the
okay.
last
Yeah.
couple months. Um,
April.
April, yes, my bad,
Yeah.
April. Yeah.
Yes.
But the reason why I bring it up is him, and there's actually a couple of other people, and I feel like I bring these people up in every episode in some form or fashion, but I just keep drawing the parallels. Daniel Larson has autism, and he's also gotten diagnosed with some other things. I'm not going to speak on it though, because I can't remember off the top of my head. And he also has like schizophrenic tendencies and stuff like that. He had a lot of situations actually, but the thing that actually got him in the most trouble after getting arrested and released multiple times because he's homeless, and he was in Colorado at the time. He's now in Missouri, and that's part of the reason why I brought it up. But
Oh.
yeah, he was in Colorado, and they kept catch and release because it costs money for them to take homeless people in and put them in prison. I mean, it's just easier for a lot of cities to just keep them on the streets, unfortunately. But he genuinely, in my opinion, is a danger to society. He
Mhm.
has done some things, and I'm not saying that Nick is necessarily on his level, but I really do think that if he wouldn't have been put in prison, the reason why it's not even prison, hold up. If he wouldn't have been put in jail, I feel like he would have hurt somebody for real.
Daniel Larson.
Daniel
Yeah.
Larson. Yeah, I really feel like he would have. What he got
Yeah.
arrested for was he was threatening to like bomb a government building or something like that
Okay.
on a live stream.
Okay.
And, I struggle with the Nick thing because it's like, yes, he was manipulated into doing something, but then there's people out
Right.
here like, Larson, or like you can even make the same argument for Chris Chan, who, took advantage of his mother.
Right.
And he was
Right.
constantly being egged on by the internet to do stuff time and time and time
Right.
again. And it's like, I do feel empathy for all of these people, but it's like sometimes if they can be convinced of stuff, maybe it's just where they belong. And if, I don't know what the proper term for is. I think I accidentally said Institute for the Criminally Insane, and I think that's very outdated. But whatever the equivalent to that is now. Daniel Larson got transferred to Springfield. There's very few places in the state that house people like that, and I could very easily see Nick being transferred there if something happened and he got moved from jail. And I don't think that's a better place for him to be at all.
Yeah, they're pretty scary places. I didn't work. I worked adjacent to one. That's a long story. When I worked for county, where they're criminally insane, or I don't know what the correct term is for it now. They're very institutionalized. I think it's very similar to prison. It's not a whole lot better. Yeah, it just seems like these people. Yeah, Nick's it's a complicated moral and ethical issue, I think. And plus we're not well versed on, or I'm not well versed enough on autism on his specific case
Me neither.
to say we need a forensic psychologist who would say yes, they do a lot of testing, and then they'll say yes, he would reoffend or he wouldn't reoffend. And so that's the kind of testing he needs, to know that. So
Yeah.
but
I'm
some
wondering-
people like Daniel Larson, maybe sometimes these are the best places that these people are out of control. They've got they need assistance. Obviously they need assistance, and they end up in jail, and probably it's not a bad thing, at least they'll be safe there and get food and, so.
And he wasn't found fit to be tried. He was facing, I think,
Right.
like 60 years or something like that. And they can't try him because he was not found mentally
Right.
competent. So
Right.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I worked with mentally challenged, I guess is the correct term, teenagers. I worked in a ministry called Upward Bound, where they would come and we would play games and just hang out and do social things. And I also, this is quite funny, I actually coached Special Olympics swimming.
Oh, cool.
I don't know how I got put into
How
it.
did you get, are you a good swimmer?
No.
Oh,
So I don't know why they.
No.
This
So-
was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Or more.
Well, it was like, about 20 years ago,
Yeah, I
probably.
was gonna say you're talking about when you worked at the Y, right?
Yeah, when I worked at the
I
Y.
must have stopped working there when I was like 5.
Yeah. And somehow they needed a coach or something like that. And so I just stood there and told them what to do, and they did it,
yeah.
It was fun. But kids, people with these type of disabilities or cognitive delays or whatever, they're all different.
It's so different. You
Yeah.
can't-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I agree.
And some of them can be really innocent and sweet, and others can be devious and manipulative.
That's right.
It's like any other
That's right.
person. They're just, normal people just with different things going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, when I think of Nick, I try to put him in if he were in my Upward Bound class, or if he were in the swimming, and just kind of look at him from that kind of perspective. And that helps me now, because I was so convinced. April Johns had me convinced at one point that Nicholas was deviant by that McDonald's incident.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you can judge it on that.
Yeah. And
Really complicated.
but I had originally thought, that was like a real, major incident. And now I believe that it was just, if he was doing anything inappropriate, I believe that now that Gypsy may have had, a part of
hand
it.
in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, they talked about, doing things in public and
Yeah,
things
and if
like
the
that.
cops thought he was dangerous at that point, or if they really thought he had broken the law by exposing himself, they would have arrested him.
Yeah.
I mean, he
Oh,
would
they
have.
didn't
There would have
arrest
been,
him?
huh?
They didn't arrest him for that?
Well, I think it was. I don't know if it was a full arrest or. I mean, he didn't go to. I don't think they didn't take him to jail, right? Did they
I
just
think he
cite
got
him and
like a
book it?
fine or something.
I have no
Yeah,
clue.
I can't remember. I do know, but I just can't. I'm not sure if it
Okay.
was yeah, they did charge him. They did charge him, but what they charged him with was it wasn't indecent exposure or anything like that. It was loitering, having the knife, and I don't know. I think they mentioned watching, something inappropriate. But I got the sense of reading the report that they weren't all like, oh well, whatever. They didn't think this guy was a problem. They
Okay.
didn't think they needed to take him off the streets is my
Mhm.
point, I guess. But of
Yeah.
course, at certain times, there are criminals and cops come into contact with them. In fact, a weird side story is my current husband, Mitch. One of the 9/11 bombers, he came in contact with. Out
Really?
Yes, yes, and he remembered him, and at the time, you don't always know, what these people are gonna do. I can't really get into the circumstances. Well, he was in, like, a strip club, and, Mitch was working Vice, undercover Vice at the time, and came in
Mhm.
contact with this guy, and later it turned out to be one of the 9/11 bombers. I guess my point is that also playing devil's advocate, because I always have to do that,
Yeah.
Me
that,
too. Me too.
uh, sometimes just by a chance encounter, cops don't always know,
Mhm.
they're
Yeah.
not they can't see the future. But I guess that the 2 cops that did come in contact with him on that day did not feel he needed to be taken off the streets at that point,
Mhm.
so,
Mhm.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. That was just that's where I started with him. That's
yeah,
where that was my beginning point with him. And I've slowly gotten to now where, I do empathize with him, and I do believe that he was manipulated,
Yeah.
and I do believe he's probably being manipulated still to this day.
I do too.
And yeah,
Mhm.
especially a lot of the things that I'm starting to see, and things that Toddy is talking about, and Dawn, and
Yeah.
it's very concerning, very concerning.
Yeah,
So I'm just trying to do my part to bring attention to
absolutely.
Nicholas's plight, and the
Yeah,
fact that I believe that Deedee wasn't as bad as she has been portrayed to be,
right.
and that we're all complicated, and that we need to give some grace there.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's what I'm trying to do.
I I hear you. Me too. That's what we're
Yeah.
trying to do too, in different ways. We all do our do it in a different way.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
I forgot to mention this, and I always forget to do this with my guests, but if you have a paranormal, UFO, or cryptid experience, could you share it
Oh my
with us?
paranormal.
If you don't, that's
Mitch is
fine.
into Mitch is into the paranormal. He's gonna kill me for saying that.
Yeah.
No, he is, him. Yeah, yeah. Um, okay, so do you want a story? Like a
Yeah,
paranormal story?
yeah.
All right.
Go
We lived
for
in
it.
this one house. This is probably 15, 20 years ago. And this is true. This is a true story.
Mhm.
Um, for like 4 nights in a row, like I felt like I sensed like something was evil in the house. I don't know how to say it. And I'm usually not like that. I'm not one of these, no.
Yeah.
And there was just bad energy. We had a lot of people. We had like 13 people living in our house. Okay.
Oh,
It was like a
wow.
really big house. It was over 4,000 square feet, but we had like our family and Mitch's brother living with us with all their kids and my mom could be difficult. And so there's just like a bad energy, kind of like,
Mhm.
just like a lot of like strife and stuff.
Mhm.
And at 3:30 in the morning for like 4 or 5 nights in a row, our downstairs TV would pop on. I swear, pop on, just like, come on.
Wow.
So loud that I'm like, sleeping upstairs and I'm like, what the hell? Run downstairs, and at 3:30, like every time I'd look at the clock at 3:30.
Mhm.
I to this day, I have no idea what that was about. It felt paranormal. It felt weird. There was no reason for that TV to come on at
Mhm.
exactly the same time every night, and I felt like there was something weird going on in the house.
Mhm.
And, yeah, even to this day, I believe that. We don't live in that house anymore, but I think certain areas have certain energies and have certain histories to them, and I do believe in I don't wanna say ghosts, but I believe in things we can't see, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there are things there. I definitely am I'm a
Mhm.
spiritual person. I went to Catholic school, so we're Catholic, but
Mhm.
I believe in that realm, and I think there's a lot of things we can't see. I talk to
Mhm.
my mom. I don't know if she hears me. I think she hears me, but
Yeah.
talk to my dad, talk to my mom, talk to my first husband, but
Mhm.
yeah, I believe in that, and I believe there was something weird going on in in our house at that time. Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me of Poltergeist with the TV.
Right. It
Yeah.
was, like, so loud, and it was snow, like the snow where it's just
It
snow.
was?
Yeah.
It was just
Oh,
snow.
that was good.
Oh, no, that was like
Yeah, no,
Poltergeist.
that scared the shit
No,
out
it
of me.
was. Yeah, 3:30 in the morning every
Oh
night
my
for, like,
goodness.
4 or 5 nights in a row, and I'm like,
Wow.
"What the." Yeah, it was freaky. Yeah.
Yeah, that is really creepy.
Well,
Um,
thank you for playing along.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. We have a big interest in the paranormal, and we started out talking a lot more about it, but now it hasn't been as relevant in our episodes, so she tries to sneak it in when she can.
Well, that's good.
Real quick off topic, but I actually just got a text from Millennial, and she sent me the well, I don't know why I'm showing you. It's not like you can see it, but she sent me the article whenever the initial McDonald's incident did actually happen, like before like the crime, even like the murder happened or anything like that. So this is just what she sent me as like a paraphrase of what's going on. She
Okay.
says, article from the Times says the manager says, oh, hold up. He was okay, sorry. Sorry, millennial. I don't there was just a bit of a typo, I think, and I'm a little dumb. Okay. It says that he was only charged with having a weapon and loitering.
Okay.
So,
Oh,
what
yeah, I
weapon
thought
was
so.
it?
A
Okay.
knife,
A knife? Okay, yeah.
He had a
I read
pocket
that
knife.
whole thing.
Pocket knife. Yeah.
which I mean, it's oh, no, it wasn't Missouri. Never mind. I
It
was gonna say it's Missouri.
Wisconsin.
I'm gonna say everyone's got everything in Missouri.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can non-concealed carry or whatever, open carry, that's what it is. Open
Yeah.
carry here. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
no comment. But yeah.
Well, that's good. I'm glad thanks for Millennial for that, because it's good to
Yes.
get these things right and on the record, because it's important, when you're
Yes,
talking
it
about
is.
somebody. Yeah.
It very much is. Okay, Becca, can you tell us what you have coming up and anything that you want to promote or anything?
Well, I was thinking, like, I talked about the Karen Reed thing. We're kind of tossing that around at this point, and of course, we're going to be we will still be covering Gypsy, of course. Yeah. So there's going to be a new. So there's a lot of people, like, on the pro Gypsy side, who have been making arguments lately on TikTok, and I'm getting a at this moment. Do you guys know who Night Convos are? It's a
Yeah.
husband and wife team.
Hmm.
They're so cute, aren't they?
Yeah.
Anyways, they did a video where they have Bree. You know who Bree is, right?
Mhm.
Gypsy's bestie.
Yeah.
And she has some other people on the panel, and they're going over things about Nick. And so I asked them if I could get a copy of that video. They're sending it to me. And because a lot of people wanted, like, Bree wants to debate you, and and that's not going to happen, But I thought I could use that video and kind of use their talking points and kind of answer them, which
Hmm.
would be a little bit different than, our videos in the past. So they're just to answer some of the talking points that they like to put out. I want to put out my thoughts on their talking points, if that makes sense. Or
That's
our
actually
thoughts.
a good idea
Okay.
because
good.
they have they have a lot of talking points that are kind of silly, but that's all right.
Some of them are and some of them aren't. And I
Yes.
want to set the record straight as far as what I know about it. Of course, I'll do more research into their talking points and I'm going to
Mhm.
give my best, answers to them so that they understand. Because a lot of them are about Nick right now. And yeah, I get kind of upset. It upsets me sometimes.
Mhm.
He's got a hard enough shake as it is. I don't think we need to paint him in a way unless you have facts to back it up with,
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree, and he's been made a monster for too long. We need to
Right.
start seeing him as who he really is. And I
Yes.
think a lot of the manipulation beforehand and now the manipulation now, I think has just we haven't been able to see who Nick really is.
Yeah. He
Yeah,
deserves
I
to
agree.
share his story for sure.
And
If nothing else.
I wish he would find somebody, like Toddy or somebody who he could just talk to and get a story out there and not have somebody who doesn't have an agenda, because Toddy doesn't have an agenda there. She
No,
just
she doesn't.
genuinely cares for him. And
Mhm.
and so it would be great
Yeah.
if that could happen, because unfortunately, I don't believe that any of the people in the news media are invested or care enough.
No. I mean, they even get the facts wrong sometimes, like how long she was in prison. I'm like,
Yeah.
can you guys just do a little research? Just a little,
Mhm. Yeah, no,
It's
I
just so
agree.
They're
infuriating,
the respected outlets.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just terrible reporting, just terrible, it's
Yes,
so
it is.
frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Thank you, Becca, so much for
Thank
coming.
you
And we have
guys.
to actually get off because I have a 2-hour limit. So
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
well, I really love this. Was so fun. We should do it again.
Yeah,
Yes.
awesome. Thank you so much for coming on our channel. We had a really cool discussion.
Anytime, guys. Really appreciate you guys having me. It
yeah,
was
thank
fun.
you so much. And
Okay.
please,
Hey.
everybody, I know that everybody already watches her, but if you don't, please go watch Becca.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Hey, are you guys going to be on tomorrow?
We are
Yes.
going to do an interview with Sarah.
Pink Cat
Yeah,
Sarah.
Pink Cat Sarah.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
Chillicothe incident. So
I can't wait.
yeah, we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
She's
I'm
in the
all
comment
over it.
section. So hi, Sarah.
Yeah. So we're excited to get into that tomorrow. So
Yeah.
thank you
All
for
right.
reminding us.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you
Okay.
so much for joining us, everyone.
Yes, thank you, everybody. I hope you have a blessed day, and I pray that you go out and do something great to change the world for the better, and just do something good. So have a blessed day, and we've got to get off of here because I got 33 seconds.
I don't even know where.
All right. Bye, guys. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.